Welcome to the second clip of this video tutorial. Now that our audio chapter file is open, we can proceed to the subdivision based on the passages that we would like to use for our engagement. In this case, this chapter has 51 verses and it has been divided into the following subdivisions: verse 1 to 18, verse 19 to 34, and verse 34 to 51. Based on this subdivision, it is logical to assume that each of the three portions would have a duration of about 2 minutes, since the verses are kind of divided based on a third of the full number of verses. So we know the first audio cue that is found at the end of the first portion. It is made him known. So let us check for it at around the 2-minute mark. I am clicking there to listen.
Who is at the Father's side has made him known.
Exactly, we have found it. Remember, to play, I click in an area and I hit my space bar, I press my space bar, and it will play back. So we would like to precisely position our cursor at the end of that section. So for us to be able to zoom, we are going to use the wheel on our mouse and the control key on our keyboard. I also will deliberately place my cursor around the area where I would like to see more detail. Remember, the zoom is in relation to the position of the small cursor. So since this is the area where the audio cue is found and I would like to see exactly where it ends, I will hold my control button and I will move my wheel. Now that I've moved my wheel, I can play again just to hear that section.
Has made him known.
So the end of the section is after the word known, and I can see the word known has ended, and I can click just after the word known to indicate that position. Please note that at this moment we are looking in detail at a small section of the full chapter wave, but we will need to go back to the full context of the entire file for us to properly do the selection that we are going to do now. So how do we see the full file? We use a combination of Control and F. When I press Control and F, it will bring the whole wave representation of the full file into my view without moving my selection, the black marker that I have positioned at the place where I want to indicate the end of my first section. Now, since my first section begins here at the beginning of the file and ends here, I would like to select it. The technique we are going to use for subdividing this whole file into its 3 sections, subdivisions, will require selection of individual sections one after another. So, for us to select, look at what happens to my cursor as I bring it closer to the black line. You will see a hand that shows pointing with a finger. We need the hand to be on the left side of the black line. The hand with the finger should be on the left side of the black line. Once it is there, remember I am not holding down any of my mouse buttons. Once I'm just moving my cursor. Once I see the hand on the left side of the black line, I can now use my left mouse button, click right there, and drag all the way to the beginning of the file, all the way up till the point when I see a yellow line appear. That is the beginning of the file. Then I can release. You will notice that that section is now white. We are also going to learn a new shortcut which will help us to memorize this selection so that we don't have to do it again. And that combination of shortcut is Control B. When I hit Control B, you will notice that an extra track appears below, and it is called the label track. It just is used to label a selection and memorize it. We also have an empty box here, an empty field into which we are going to type the name that we would like that file to be identified as. When we break it, we separate it from the rest of the chapter. In this case, I will use the chapter and verse reference as the name of the file. Make sure you do not use colons or semicolons in the naming, because those cannot be included in file names in the Windows operating system. I now hit enter, and that is memorized. I have finished that, selecting that particular portion and keeping it memorized in the system. In the next video, we will look at how we proceed with the next two sections and how we will finally split everything, the whole chapter, into the 3 subdivisions. Thank you.